No, I wasn't hurting, but I feel like I do what's called. That's what every last one of us do. Whenever it's called, that's what we do. We go out there and try to execute it the best way we possibly can. We had a game plan.
Why weren't you a bigger part of the game plan?
No, my back wasn't bothering me at all.
Well, why is getting you the ball not a bigger part of the game plan?
I just do what's asked. That's all I do. I can't answer that.
You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines, the pick show for Week 11. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And we're riding a small profit. I really actually recommend our last recap show because we got into it a fair bit. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was a good back and forth. Mostly you poking me with a stick and me acting like a...
It's just fun. You react.
You poke me with a stick and then I scream like a madman and then you laugh and then we finish up.
It was a fun one last night. Anyway, let's get right to the games. Okay.
Yeah, enough with the sentimentality of the previous podcast.
I do want to say one thing. I apologize to you, good friend Mitch, for the string of obscene texts I sent you, believing your Lions had failed to cover the 2.5 point spread I thought we'd bet them on. I should have checked my records. We took them as pick'ems. It's all good, and they made us some money. Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah. I don't know if you have to apologize. He puts fish boy. He calls you fish boy in the comment section on our website. So, do you really need to apologize, or is this just the kind of relationship you guys have?
I suppose. But on to the games. Thursday night. We are banned from betting this on so many levels. It's not even funny. It is Indianapolis is only laying 3 going to Tennessee.
Well, take Indy, people. Because if you can't beat Jacksonville, you're not beating Indy on a short week, even though they looked like shit against the Rams. I have no faith in this Tennessee team. 4-12 would be fine with me right now. Fitzpatrick's at quarterback. Get some draft picks, get a high draft pick in the top 4 or 5 is better off than going 7-9. Who gives a fuck at this point? Can't beat Jacksonville when you know the game on Thursday would be for first place in the division? Fuck it. 4-12. Rebuild. I was almost ready to pack up all my Tennessee Titan memorabilia in the basement. I fucking seriously contemplated getting a box and just putting it away and sticking it on a shelf. That's how mad I was.
It's a strong reaction, and 3 seems light to me. So yeah, I've got to go Indy. If this was a 1 touchdown game, I almost think that it might be a bounce back for Tennessee, but no, I've got to take Indy here.
And it could be a bounce back game for Tennessee if they have any pride. But from here on out, the defense has to win the games for us.
Well, the Pollard quote we ran last night, too, implies that there's an issue about pride and professionalism in that Tennessee locker room.
But I think he may have been, now that I'm thinking about, he may have been talking about the offense. They scored 17 points off turnovers and a safety. They had a touchdown fumble return. Johnson fumbled at the 20 on the opening possession. And who else fumbled?
Well, we thought he might have been talking about Chris Johnson. We thought that was a call out at Johnson.
Well, and Johnson fumbled at the Jacksonville 20 or 25 after the defense had got its pick. So The defense wasn't responsible for a lot of those points.
No, and I don't think we said that. I'm just saying I think that there's an issue in the locker room that Pollard is trying to address.
Yeah, and I think it might be the whole offense he was speaking to.
Well,
It was the offense
welcome
that
to
played
Tennessee.
like shit. It was the offense that played like shit. The
Welcome-
offense did nothing in the first. Locker was 3 of 9 for 24 yards before he got hurt. So you're not really lighting up the turf with that shit. And
No.
the offensive line wasn't blocking anybody. It looked, for how they ran against the Rams, and I said last week I thought it looked like they may have figured something out in the running game. They were back to the same line collapsing, no holes for anybody.
Well,
So, I don't know.
we're not allowed to bet it, but this is one where I lay Indy pretty confidently.
Yes. Yeah, me too. Even though the road team doesn't usually fare well on Thursdays, I have a sneaky suspicion they will this week.
All right, moving to Sunday games. We have Arizona -6.5 at Jacksonville.
I don't want to touch this game.
Really?
You probably want to take Arizona.
I do. I know they played better in the desert, but their defense is pretty real. Well, mind you, yeah, we said that about Tennessee last week. Like, what can you tell me about how Jacksonville scored? Like, was it all just,
I just
short
said-
fields? Is there
Well,
a Jacksonville offense?
No, they scored 1 touchdown. I think Jones-Drew had 40 yards rushing. I think their leading receiver had 42 yards. I can't even tell you how they
So
scored.
why not? It's the two shitty teams rule.
That's
But I'm starting to
stupid.
think Arizona might be crawling out of that shitty teams mantle. I'm not certain this is two shitty teams. I think it's one acceptable team versus a disaster who are going to lose their focus. This always happens to these winless teams. They finally get their win and they utterly collapse.
Well, I'm trying to think. I got to go back and look at the fucking stats on that because I'm just going to pull up Jacksonville's schedule.
Pull that up. Okay, we're putting this as an asterisk maybe in the mix. Let's take a look at those things. But I don't think Jacksonville was good. I still don't think they are.
How did they win that game? Henny threw for 180 yards. Jones-Drew ran for 41, and Cecil Shorts had 42 yards receiving.
Wow. And I
they
don't think
scored-
their defense is particularly good either, by the way.
Who, our defense?
No, Jacksonville's defense.
No, it's not. Johnson fumbled the handoff on one, got sacked for a safety. They pulled the ball right out of Fitzpatrick's hands and ran that in for a touchdown.
So I'm thinking you're moving a little towards my position, maybe Arizona.
Yes, but we'll keep it in the mix and see where
We'll
we're going.
keep it in the
forward.
mix. Keep looking up some numbers while we're talking.
In the pool, yes, definitely Arizona.
Absolutely Arizona. To the point where I may wish to bet them. Our next game up, Atlanta at Tampa Bay, is closed by the current sheet I have. Do you have any better numbers on that?
No, it's closed. It's still closed.
Probably, I assume, due to Tampa Bay's running back.
Well,
of the
and
week.
Atlanta, too. Gonzalez and Roddy White. You never know what you're getting out of those two, injury-wise. So
This game would be intriguing because I think, strangely enough, Tampa Bay might have been the dog there, and I would have liked them. But this is something we're not going to bet anyway because it's two shitty teams.
and anything can happen when
Yeah.
two shitty teams meet. So in the pool play, I would take Tampa.
Agreed. Completely agreed. But it's not something we should be enticed into.
No.
It's a terrible lure for a gambler. All right. Next game up. Baltimore is +3 going to Chicago.
Don't like this game at all.
No, I want to stay away from this at all. Baltimore won last week to hurt us. I watched a fairly healthy chunk of this game. They did not impress me in victory. They really didn't.
No,
Chicago's defense is terrible. I mean, they actually played much better against Detroit than I thought they would. But that was a divisional game for first place. Now that they've kind of had the coffin spike put through their skull, I see a huge letdown for Chicago. I think McCown, if McCown had started that Detroit game, we would not have gotten that pick last week.
No. And it's convenient that Cutler has a high ankle sprain, so he'll be out for another month. So,
well, they rushed him back, and I said this in the podcast last week. A groin injury is impossible to rush. It heals as it heals, and when you play with one injury, I personally believe that it leaves you much more likely to other injuries. Particularly at the level of these athletes. Like, they overcompensate, their body mechanics, their muscle memory is not working the same way, and one injury piles on another, and it's a lost season.
well, it's not a lost season for the Bears. I don't think the Bears are out of it yet. Do you have that much faith in the Lions?
Yeah, I do. With their tiebreaker situation, the ease of their schedule coming up.
Yeah, but they don't
They
scare
have
me on
poor
the road
coaching.
anywhere.
They have
don't-
poor coaching. Well,
They
they
have
just
one
won in
wideout.
Chicago. Now, admittedly,
I
that's
know.
a game they should have won.
But it
But-
shouldn't have been that close. When you need the defense to step up and make a play, you can't let them march down the field and score a touchdown.
And as soon as Josh McCown came in, that Bears offense came to life. When it was Cutler, Detroit's defense was handling them easily. And they still don't have a second receiver, though supposedly Burleson might be back. And when did he become a savior for any team?
No, never. He's been famous because he played with two of the top 5 receivers in football at one point.
Yeah, no, and I like Burleson. I mean, sometimes guys are football players, but they're not game changers.
No.
I want to stay away from this game. If Ray Rice doesn't go off against Chicago, he's done.
Well, they're saying there's a new guy. They're going to start going to Pierce. They're going to ride the hot guy.
Hot
what I
in
read
what?
today.
Did he get more than 20 yards?
Well,
What
in
did
this
Pierce
game,
get in that game?
I don't know. I didn't watch
I
any
don't
of
think it was a whole bunch.
I was too busy turning the gas on in the oven.
Oh, well, yeah.
During the Titans
Jacksonville
game.
will do that.
No, but in the pool play, I would take Chicago in this game, just because of McCown starting.
I actually take Baltimore in this game, in pool play. Disagreement, and we definitely don't bet it.
No.
Next game up, Detroit is laying 2.5 going into Pittsburgh.
Did you just skip a game on me?
Yes, I did. It's a new tablet. I'm having trouble working it. All right, the next game up is Cleveland at Cincinnati.
It's just your fingers are too big for the scroll bar.
Yeah, the worst part is I'm using a stylus.
Oh, Jesus. Is that what you call it now?
No, but I'm
geez.
considering it. All right, the real next game up is Cleveland +6 at Cincinnati.
I love Cleveland here, dude.
6 points. I don't think we're going to be getting 6 too many more times with Cleveland.
No, and the way Cincinnati looked against Baltimore's D, I can see Hayden taking A.J. Green out of the game, and I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball against Cleveland. And with Geno Atkins out for Cincy's defense, I could see actually Jason Campbell doing some good things.
Now, I don't want to go crazy and bet this money line.
No.
I want to take the points here. Yeah.
Yes, no, I like this game. This is for the division lead right here, basically. If Cleveland wins this game, they're in the driver's seat for the division.
Cleveland's defense is for real. I mean, and it has been all year. And as soon as we saw 3 weeks, we started to worry about our under bet on Cleveland. This was before Hoyer. Like, that defense in Cleveland is good. Their running game is not good. Their passing game is not good.
It's better. No, it's a lot better with Jason Campbell. Like, their wideouts aren't terrible. They just had Whedon couldn't get him the ball. Whenever I've watched him, Little and Gordon seem to be getting open. It's the fucking tight end he's forgotten about. Jordan Cameron, since Jason Campbell's come in, hasn't been getting the ball at all. The wideouts have been open. Now, that could be a function of them covering Cameron differently because of the success he had earlier in the year.
I suspect it is. It's because, I mean, it's a Norv Turner offense, which I'm intimately familiar with, and he never adjusts to personnel. He tries to hammer in a system. So they know through the history of Antonio Gates, all of Norv Turner's work, that if you can shut off the tight end, you can shut off the offense. Because that's the only outlet, the only release valve a quarterback has.
Well, if Cleveland had a running game, they'd be scary. But they don't.
But they only need enough of a running game. I mean, McGahee can get 3.3 and at least keeps some honesty involved.
Yeah, and he's not going to turn the ball over.
Yeah. I really like Cleveland here. It's definitely in the mix.
Oh, I was getting ready to click the button.
No,
but
not
we'll
quite yet. We don't want to go last week and pull a trigger on something too early.
I don't think it's too early. I think this one's pretty much in the bank, but we'll keep it in the mix.
Okay. All right, and now I guess I was so excited. Detroit at Pittsburgh. Detroit is laying 2.5.
See, now there's the 2.5 you were looking at last week.
Yeah.
Here, I'm all excited watching the Saints game.
I bet in so many places, it gets confusing sometimes.
And you were pissed off.
Numbers I got.
And I don't think I got a response from you till the next day about, hey, good job, buddy. We won our bet.
No, it was about 1 a.m. when I checked my texts again and thought, why the hell is he saying good picks?
So what do you think? I don't want to take Detroit here.
No, right now I want to reanalyze our position on both Pittsburgh and Detroit.
If this was in Detroit, I'd say no problem. But who on Pittsburgh can beat them with that front?
There are some strong worries in the secondary for Detroit. You back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, that'll be easy enough to fix that.
Okay, I fucking went to hit the cough button, and I hit the fucking hang up instead of the mute.
Okay, I can fix that.
Okay, well, let's carry on with Pittsburgh and Detroit.
Okay. Yeah, well, I expect you to hang up when we're arguing, Boyd, but Jesus, was that really necessary in the middle of the pod?
I went to hit the cough button on my mic and hit the fucking hang up button on our connection. So for the hiccup that you're going to hear in this part where we don't know exactly where we're coming in off of, that's on the editing skills of the one and only Marlon. This will be the editing according to Marlon. So my apologies, Marlon. I didn't mean to hang up. I had to cough.
No worries. I was just worried.
And I have no cough button on my actual mic. It's only on my display screen, so my apologies.
Water under the bridge. Let's move on.
Okay, so we're not going to bet this game.
And the point I was in the middle of making was Josh McCown was far better when he came into that Detroit game. Suddenly, Detroit's secondary looked weak. Very worried about it.
But did they change their strategy, though, again? That whole prevent, give them the underneath 10, 15 yards, and then they end up getting fucked over because you got the 8-point cushion?
Could be it.
And Pittsburgh's offense, I'm thinking about this a little. Pittsburgh's offensive line is horrific.
And if you can just bring 4 and actually get pressure, yeah. I like Detroit a lot in this game. Pool play, I'm not hesitating. I'm not ready. I mean, this is a dark horse for being in the mix, but I don't want to touch it.
No. Detroit doesn't blow people out on the road. They just don't.
And the fact that Detroit is favored on the road in Pittsburgh implies that suddenly the Pittsburgh bump, where the lines were always 3 points in favor of Pittsburgh, that may be over. And that may signal the end of our fade Pittsburgh strategy.
Yeah.
Next game up, the Jets +1 at Buffalo.
Well, did the Jets not thump Buffalo earlier in the season?
I believe they did.
Yes, they did. And E.J. Manuel looked worse than he did before he got hurt. He actually seemed to be making headway before he got hurt, and he came back against the Steelers and was god-awful. What did he finish, 12 for 25 or something like? It was brutal. Well, he did get that crappy touchdown at the end with 4 seconds left. And I'll never understand why wouldn't you just fucking let the clock run out at that point? All you're doing is having the possibility of somebody getting hurt? For what? So it looks better?
It's
we only lost
exactly. It's
23-10.
coaching resume. It's coaching resume with total disdain for the players. Yeah.
Do I care if I'm like this? Marone in Buffalo.
Two shitty teams is why I want to stay away from this game.
Well, and the Jets aren't necessarily shitty. They're 5-4. But they're not a good. I don't look at them as a good team. But they could be they're in the fucking mix for the playoffs. But I don't want to bet it. I'm just saying. I don't know if I'd lump them. May lump them in with the Arizonas.
Buffalo's defense is good. The Jets' defense is generally good.
I
actually think this could be a really entertaining football game. In a lot of ways, I really don't want to bet this one.
No, I don't either. And I think I'm taking the Jets for the pool.
Yeah, Jets all the way. Buffalo let me down. I believe they rushed Manuel back. I think they would have been better off with Toole against the Steelers.
Yeah, he had all the reps for a couple of weeks. Manuel got cleared on like Wednesday. Can't he sit a week? Maybe give him a full week of fucking practice before you're going to play a defense that rookies tend not to fare too well against?
A guy who messes with your head absolutely insanely. You know, LeBeau being one of the greatest defensive coordinators in history.
He's probably still the best one in football.
Oh, currently?
It's just the talent's old now. They can't do the same things.
Oh, he's amazing. And, until you told me that he actually took the head coaching job somewhere, sometimes guys are just great coordinators and bad head coaches. But LeBeau's been awesome for a long time.
Philbin in Miami. That offense in Green Bay hasn't been the same since he went to Miami.
No. Well, Northerner, I still think is... He's making gold out of straw in Cleveland, but if he ever returned as the head coach of the Chargers, I'd cut my wrists from wrist to elbow.
All right, so we both have the Jets in that one.
Next up, off the board, do you have any better information?
No, it's closed.
Okay, Oakland at Houston. I didn't want to get involved with this anyway.
No, but if you have a line in your pool, go Houston. I think that defense will shut down Terrell Pryor.
They couldn't shut down Carson Palmer, so
Yeah,
I'm a
but
little
Carson Palmer can
hesitant.
throw. Carson Palmer can throw. Terrell Pryor can they'll get to him.
If Oakland's getting 6.5 or more, I take Oakland.
No, they won't be getting that much. It's going to be, I would say, between 1 and 3. Oakland will be getting between 1 and 3.
No, I think it's going to be 6.5.
No
But-
way.
Yeah,
No.
we'll see.
I'll bet you a drink at your voice doppelganger show this weekend. You're
Mr.
saying
Greg
what? How much?
Proops?
Yes.
I think it'll
What's
be
your
6.5 or higher.
Okay, and I'm saying between 1 and 3.
So between
And-
3 and 6.5, we'll call it a draw and pay for our own drinks.
Okay, no, I'm gonna say 3. I get 3.5.
Okay. I'll give
I
you
want
that
the
half
3.5.
point. And the 6.5 number is where I take Oakland. Though I wouldn't throw $1 at the game, really.
No, I would. Yeah, 6. If it's over 6, yes, I would take Oakland, but it won't be. They're two bad teams. Houston's lost 7 in a row, and I will have a lemon heart and Coke, please, on Saturday.
Oh, hell, I'm drinking the 18-year-old McAllen.
Okay, I'll have a Johnny Walker Blue. You got any of that Louis Trey up there?
All right, next game. Washington plus 3.5 at Philadelphia.
I like Philly in this one. If it wasn't for the fact that they haven't won a home game in about a year and a half, I would want to bet this game. But I can't throw money at this.
Okay, I was hoping that would be your final conclusion. Because I didn't want to bet this game. I'm intrigued by it. I'm entertained by it. But I don't know what either of these teams are. Washington just lost to Minnesota. Philly scored 6 points on offense for 2 weeks, and then it has now exploded, for an average of 30 per game. I have no idea what I'm about to see.
Well, one of the reasons I would say that this could stay in the mix is Minnesota put up 34 on them. And Philly should be able to come close. They scored 30 on them in the first half of their first game. And then hung on for dear life. But no, I understand you don't want to bet. I don't really either, but how many have we said we wanted to bet on?
Well, a couple already. A couple
Yeah.
are in the mix.
Well, we need
And
four.
I like all of them more than I like this thus
No,
far.
I know, but we've got 4. We got to bet 4
Okay,
games.
another dark horse in there. Next game up, we are forbidden from betting. It's also closed. San Diego at Miami. I like San Diego. I don't
Yeah, they
like them as favorites here, going once again to the East Coast. But San Diego is just a better team than Miami at this stage.
Yes, and they're missing 2/5 of their offensive line in Miami. Still. And Martin isn't coming back, and Incognito isn't coming back, so they're playing with what they've got now. San Diego should win this game. I don't know if I want to put a number on it. 7? Win it by 7? What's the line going to be on this one? 5? San Diego by 5?
San Diego, no, 3.5. San Diego will be favored by 3.5 because you can't trust them yet. San Diego's not a good team. They're a bad team that if they don't make mistakes and doesn't play stupidly, can win some good games. But I don't see them going cross country, laying more than 3.5.
No, fair enough assessment. You know more about them than I do.
Our defense isn't good. Now, 3.5 is the number. And frankly, in this game, I'm going to back the Chargers with pretty much any number because we should beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, pool play, I would take San Diego as well.
The one worry is, of course, Cameron Wake. He's been bedeviling my teams since he was in the CFL. But if we double team him and chip him with a tight end, do anything to stop Cameron Wake, I don't think Miami has much to answer with.
No. And they don't have much on offense either. Not much of a running game. Wallace can only run one route, and that's deep.
Oh, and he doesn't
straight
even
down the field.
fight for the route. I'm still...
Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Don't be mad. You're only mad because in fantasy, I was playing Mike Wallace, and he needed 3 points to beat me, and he pulled in a whopping 1.2 or 1.5. Come on. Admit it.
Oh, I know. That's the whole reason, but I hate seeing a lazy football player. And we both knew when he was a free agent that this is what he was going to be.
Well, he was a one. That's why the Steelers let him go.
He's a piece of crap football player.
If he was Hines Ward type receiver, he'd still be in Pittsburgh. They wouldn't have let him walk.
Well, and if Al Davis was still alive, he would have bought him for the Raiders. To just sprint down the field because speed kills.
Yeah.
I think San Diego will win, and I think you can be confident up to 3
6.
and reasonably confident to 6.
I would take him as high as 6. If it was higher than that, I would seriously consider 6.5 or 7. I would take Miami.
Yeah, I'd back away from them at that number too. All right, next game up, we have Green Bay plus 6.5. Mike Tolzien, writer of the famed Lord of the Rings trilogy, is facing off against the resurgent Giants.
I wouldn't bet this if somebody gave me $1,000 just to light on fire. I'm sorry.
No, I would if that were the situation, but
no,
yeah, we're
I
splitting
couldn't
hairs
do it.
here. No, I want nothing to do with this.
Eli's still a pick machine. It doesn't matter how poor I think the Green Bay defense is or how many points I think Green Bay can score. He could throw 2 pick sixes in this game and totally change that line. So, like they cover, what was the spread in Oakland when they played Oakland last week? I can't even remember, but it was probably around 4 or 4.5, maybe a little higher. And he throws a pick six.
It was 6.5 or 7. But
so he blew that fucking spread on a pick 6.
Yep.
So there's no fucking way I'm betting on him.
No. And I'm cheering for Green Bay, and I'm going to take the points just because the points are there to be had. This is a game you're right, I wouldn't touch this.
But saying that, if I'm in the pool, I'm taking the Giants. Green Bay.
You're gonna lay 6.5 on the Giants.
In a pool, yes.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, I can't make a good argument either way.
A guy that just came off the practice squad last week, playing quarterback. Their defense is still porous as all hell. Manning's got to put it together one of these weeks again, doesn't he? What does he need to put it together again? He's got Nix.
Maybe a new coordinator, because Phil Rivers was at this stage last year.
Yeah, but he's had success
maybe
before.
You just need a system that will work.
Yeah, but he's had the same guy for
and Phil
What's
Rivers
changed?
delivered under Norv Turner for forever.
Yes, but he's won 2 Super Bowls with the same offensive coordinator. What's changed?
Maybe the lack of personnel in the O-line. They're still trying to run a system that worked with different personnel. That's my only theory, and I'm not saying I'm right on this. I'm really not saying I'm right, but it's the only theory I have. When a good quarterback goes bad, it's usually because they're trying to make that quarterback do the same things he used to do with personnel that are incapable of doing those things.
You could be totally right. I'm not disagreeing with that. But he's too good of a quarterback to struggle like this for this long.
No, I agree. And I look at the resurgence of Phillip Rivers as sort of my model for that theory. It was the personnel was not there to do what they used to be doing. So let's bring in someone who will try to tailor a system to fit the personnel, not the other way around. That's just my theory.
It's a good theory. I'm betting that they win by more than 6.5. Not at actual money, but in the pool, I'm taking the Giants.
Fair enough. All right, next game up, the ratings stomper of the week. The night game. Undefeated Kansas City.
Oh, you just skipped 2 games, buddy.
Can't. Gotta learn this new tablet. Sorry.
You need a smaller stylus.
So many women have told me that.
And if you could see his nose right now, it would be growing.
I skipped, actually, 2 games.
Is Geppetto sleeping right now?
No, he's working the tablet. All right, Minnesota is getting 12.5 or 13.5 going to Seattle.
I don't want to bet this game either. You are of different opinion? Just because they struggled with Tampa, I don't know what... They looked good against Atlanta. If you would have told me this if this line was 13.5 after they beat San Francisco and Seattle, I would say yes. Bet it. But when they struggled to beat Tampa, looked good on the road for the first time, I think, all year, 13.5 seems like a lot.
It is a huge spread, but I still like taking Seattle in this game. Minnesota gave up a ton of points to Washington. They were facing a terrible defense. They got every bounce going their way. Minnesota has one thing and one thing only, and that's Adrian Peterson. And don't try to tell me that Cordell Patterson he's great. He's a good player. I really like him. But he's still got Ponder throwing to him. You've got some sort of strange cancer in Freeman wandering the sidelines.
Yeah, why did they pick him up?
They're paying him like $3.5 million this year.
And he's inactive.
And, in one of their losses, the defense was just saying that the coaches are idiots. I mean, Minnesota is falling apart on so many levels. They've now beaten, Pittsburgh and London, and Washington on a Thursday.
But
do those games really count?
Well, does the Seattle thing where they were saying themselves that they sometimes play down to their opposition?
Not
do
anymore.
You take that into account?
I don't think that happens anymore.
Well, we only have 1 game sample size.
Yeah.
And that was Atlanta.
Yeah, but when the team called them out, I think we may be seeing a focused Seattle team. And Christian Ponder and that crowd noise, the play that he gets is going to be the play that he has. He has never been capable of changing a play at the line. And what do you change it to?
Well, Tampa didn't look like they changed anything at the line.
They came kitchen sink. They got a ridiculous jump pass.
Well, that was 1. They were at the 2.
And that was Tampa, and that was the scare. That was the scare that all good teams go through. And usually, this is anecdotally, but usually the good team learns from that suddenly you can't look through it. If Tennessee had gotten it together and stolen that win from Jacksonville, that would be the mood of the locker room. It's like, holy shit, not look through fucking anyone. Work.
Well,
be professional.
well,
And
we
do
can keep
it.
it in the mix.
And Seattle needs that win now, because you're quite accurate in saying that there are questions about them. I think this is their shit stomping of some drunk they find on the curb.
Okay,
Just
well,
to
we'll keep it
prove
in
that
the
they're
mix.
tough.
We'll keep it in the mix. We'll see where we're at when we get to the end here.
Okay. Next game up, and I believe this truly is the next game up this time.
Yes.
San Francisco +3 going to New Orleans. Big game.
This is the game of the week. And
There's a few good games this week, man.
but this is the best one. This is two teams that everybody thinks are contenders. Because the next game, the Kansas City game, you don't think Kansas City's really a contender.
There weren't either of our... well, no, they hit number 5 in both of our top 5s, I believe.
No, I had Kansas City 4.
Okay.
I had these guys tied for 5th, and then you called me a pussy, so...
Not in so many words.
Well, in so many words, yes. You didn't say pussy, but in so many words you did.
I believe coward.
Okay. You say potato, I say potato. Now, this one I don't think we can bet on because we both have very differing opinions on who the better team is, I think. Well, I picked them tied for 5th, but...
Now, I don't want to bet on it either. But you have been very right about one thing about New Orleans. At home, they are an entirely different animal.
Yeah.
So I'm not against this, to be honest.
San Francisco has a really good defense.
just lost... Yeah, but they just lost Vernon Davis. He's not going to be playing. I saw his skull bounce off the turf. Your argument for Kaepernick was he has no one to throw to. Who does he have to throw to this week?
And none. I've made my argument for myself.
Yeah.
I still think San Francisco's defense is for real, though.
Oh, they are. And New Orleans is hot and cold on offense. I mean, the Jets manhandled them and threw them around. But I don't think this is the worst game on the board.
No, it's not. But that Jets game is what's sticking in the back of my head. The one
but that was outdoors,
team.
And this is at home. And this
I
is
know.
the point you made very eloquently last week.
I know. If this was anybody but San Francisco or Carolina, and it was 3 points, we'd have already bet it. But those are the defenses in the NFC. You have 3. Seattle, San Francisco, and Carolina. That can stop anybody on a given day.
In New Orleans, yes, but that's on the road. This is New Orleans at home. I really think we should jump on the 3 points. New Orleans at home.
Okay, well, let's keep it in the mix. And it can be strongly in the mix, but I don't want to do it right now.
This is a strange week in that we have a lot of games that we don't hate.
Well, I'm not 100% sold on New Orleans against a good defense yet.
Fair enough.
And I know how they play at home, but Dallas's defense isn't San Francisco's. And I don't know what's New Orleans' rush defense like. That's how the Jets gashed them. I was running the ball. Ivory ran for like $150.
One game they gave it up, and the only other game, and this was on the road, they lost, was New England.
But they got to Breeze.
And that was a freaky fluke.
But they got to Breeze, too. the Jets' pass rush got to Breeze. And that's one thing San Francisco has a lot of. They get heat.
I like this game. Like,
Well,
I want it strongly in the mix versus some of our weak ass picks earlier.
Okay, didn't veto anything, did I? I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm
Yep.
just saying that's the signs for Breeze to struggle are there in San Francisco's defense and their offense. Because how do you beat him or Peyton Manning? Run the ball. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And that's what the Jets did. And that's what Frank Gore. If you haven't seen the Wildcat or the pistol busted out a lot with San Francisco, it'll be on full display in this game.
Well, it has to be, really, because they can't complete a pass downfield. You're right. You're right, and that's a really good point.
And that's New Orleans' weakness. The rookie quarterback beat him.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
No, you're a really valid point. That's why we do this shit. Next game up, the 9-0 Chiefs are getting 6.5 going to Denver.
They're getting 8.5.
Holy crap. It opened at 7.5. I downloaded it was to 6.5 and now it's to 8.5.
So when can you think of a 9-0, an undefeated team laying 8.5? Or getting 8.5?
I actually read a piece on Pro Football Talk tonight. It's happened for undefeated teams, but
not at 9-0.
Never when it was relevant. It was only in weeks 13 and 16. Based on what the Chargers did, I don't want to bet this game.
No.
Based on this, I am going KC. And I'm not a believer in them. But Denver didn't blow my mind on Sunday. I thought that would be a 3-touchdown victory.
And Denver has a gimpy quarterback. Yes, there was no more damage to his ankle, but it's still bad. His ankle is not good.
How do we know that there's no more damage to his ankle? Like, we're working on
I know
belief here.
I know, but that's all I can go on, and that's all our listeners are going on.
Yeah.
They said there's no more damage. He's definitely playing. But is he one hit away? Kansas City has their defense is for real. They're going to get heat on Manning.
Yep.
They have their safeties are really good. They have one of the best corners in football, and they can run the fucking ball. How do you beat Denver? If you're looking for an upset pick that's going to pay really good, take a 9-0 team. When are you good? The money line's closed right now. My guess is it's going to be like plus 240 to 300.
Well, it's going to be light because a lot of people are thinking exactly the same way we are, in that this is a money line bet that looks juicy. You know, they're going to throw 10% of their budget at it because it's paying so damn well.
Well, I'm just looking up the other site that shall not be named outside of Sports Interaction because we sometimes have to go. Sometimes we have to go offshore to make a bet.
Well, we're going to the merry old Isle of England, but
I just want to check.
We prefer to make our bets in Canada at Sports Interaction. They've been good to us. There's never been a question about payouts, and they're legal. We like to be legal.
Yes, we do. So I'm just pulling that up now.
That spot was unsponsored by Sports Interaction. In no way are we affiliated with them.
No, it's just who we prefer. Let's see. Game lines is what I want, I think. And it's all different here. Although they don't have the money lines up yet either. Off the board, off the board, off the board. But let me see what they're +8.
Chargers got heat on Manning. That O-line is starting to collapse. All those injuries are stacking up, and people are finding a way to attack the left side of that line. The Chargers do not have a credible pass rush, yet they were able to get contact and heat on Manning. And as we've watched his entire career, he hates being touched.
I think you're going to owe me a drink. Looking at this line, they happen to have a line for the Chargers game. Would you care to guess what it is?
No.
-1.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I take my bolts on that all day.
No, I do too, but the bet was I had 1 to -1
Yeah,
to 3.5.
I don't know what they saw about Miami's performance tonight that inspired them.
Well, I think it's the Chargers going cross country and everything. But okay, I digress. The Kansas City-Denver game, I wouldn't bet this with our money. I believe I'm going to put $5 on Kansas City to win myself.
It's the same way I felt about Carolina Niners last week. Same 6.5 point spread. Same Sunday night feature.
Except this is 8.5. I'm not even talking points. I'm money line.
Oh yeah, no, and I said it would not shock me if Carolina beat the Niners. And that wasn't the Sunday night. I apologize, but
yeah. Well, we know what you meant.
But yeah,
Okay.
This is the underdog pick, and now we're going to a game I don't want to bet, but actually want to watch on Monday night for the first time in a while. New England at Carolina.
I would like to bet this game.
Really? All right. Explain.
Yeah. Well, we've already discussed Carolina's defense in this game. Or their defense throughout the podcast has been mentioned and in our recap. Their defense is, I couldn't name you one guy on it, but it's putting up numbers and holding teams to nothing. What changed? Because they put up 55 against a shitty Pittsburgh team, they're back on the road against a team that's going to run the ball down their throat with their defensive line is fucking brutalized in New England. I'd -3 at +100 for a team that's won 5 in a row and getting some national spotlight now. How are they going to contain Cam Newton?
I'm less worried about that. At the end of that San Francisco game, that defense was swarming. It was absolutely collapsing every position on the Niners' offensive line. It wasn't one guy getting there, it was 4 of them. And they generally only need to send 4. Carolina's... And when we started to get on the Carolina tip in week 3, they were just getting defensive linemen taking off on carts every game. And one of the reasons we backed off was how many injuries can this line sustain?
Apparently lots.
And you wondered why I was so upset when Ron Rivera left as defensive coordinator for the Chargers?
Well, and the other thing is everybody was talking, okay, who's Carolina beaten in their 4-game win streak?
Who had the Niners? I said that last week.
I know. This isn't a shot at you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the talk out there was Carolina hasn't beat anybody. Let's see what they got against one of the top teams in the NFC, and they went into their place and beat them. Now, granted, they didn't put up a lot of points, but I think San Francisco is probably the second or third best defense in the NFC. And I'd put Seattle first, and then it's between Carolina and San Francisco.
When you get into the top 5, they're all good.
And I wouldn't say New England is anywhere near that.
Ranking 1 to 5, it's fun, it's enjoyable. But if you're in the top 5, you're meaningful.
Now, saying all we've said about that, have they beaten anybody that has weapons now like New England's running out there?
No.
That's the wild card with Gronk back.
And
Amendola
Vernon
apparently
Davis was
healthy.
having a good game until his skull got bounced off the turf. No, I'm not meaning to make light. That's concussion. But it's part of doing your job in the NFL.
Yeah, and he won't feel the effects of that till he's 40. So if we're still broadcasting, then we'll update you.
And guys who work in the coal mines won't feel till they're 40 either, but they still do their fucking jobs.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the price on this. -3 plus 100.
Well, we gotta winnow this down. Like,
Okay. So which game do you feel most confident in? Is it New Orleans?
yeah.
Okay, we'll bet them. So we're going to take New Orleans -3 over San Francisco at the Superdome. $10 bet pays $19.09.
What do you like?
I like Cleveland +6.
Let's take that. I
also
like
like-
that too.
I like Man, I
We'll
don't
do
know.
our compromise pick. I know what our compromise pick is going to be.
What, Carolina?
Carolina and Seattle.
Is our parlay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one, too. So we're going New England at Carolina. We're taking Carolina -3, and it's +100. We're taking Seattle at home against the Vikings.
Laying a big number.
-13.5. Our $10 bet pays $38.18. It is booked. Now, our last game.
I thought you wanted Cleveland. I thought you were.
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I was just our last game. I was just scrolling up to it. I was stalling. Thanks for ruining that. So we're taking.
I like to step on your lines.
We're taking Cleveland +6 on the road in Cincinnati. $10 bet pays $19.09. So I don't think we need to recap for anybody, do we?
I don't think so, because we didn't make a bet until we finished this up.
Yeah, so you can just, if you're we do try and split them up so you have to listen to the whole thing, but this week there was too many games in play. And I still don't even, if I had to, I could bet Detroit, to be honest, but thankfully we didn't have to this week. Now,
A lot of good games this weekend.
yeah,
Really,
think-
a lot of things that I'm looking forward to watching. Whereas recent weeks, I've been sitting there going, well, I suppose I could watch Cincy Baltimore.
well, Carolina, New England, San Fran, New Orleans, even Cleveland, Cincinnati. Although I don't think it's going to be the greatest football game to watch, I have a lot of interest in it.
And Denver KC is, let's face it, pretty fascinating.
Yes. Now, don't forget to check out Marlon's column, The World According to Marlon. It's available right now. Check that out. His first 2 posts have been outstanding. We've even added new followers because of them, so you better check it out and forward it on to people you know. He's got some good shit to say. Now, if you want to check out our podcast, search for us on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device. You can listen to them on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter @offensivelines for any new podcasts are available, or when any new podcasts are available, or any new posts are put on the site. Facebook.com/offensiveline. Come on, people. We know you're listening. Could we get some likes on our Facebook page, please? It'd help us a lot. And if you want to contact the show, you can send us an email, offensivelines@shaw.ca.
And
I'm Boyd.
We want all the comments, man. We worked real hard last week. Hate us, love us. Send us a fucking line.
Yeah, please. And on that note, I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. And that was Offensive Lines.
Degenerate fucking gambler.